Very much. This is, we have another one going. We're just, I guess they've explained all that, right? So this is exciting. I had to exercise my police driving skills a bit to get over here. But I still got it. So there you go. My name is Mike Knox. Many of you may know me as a city council member for the city of Houston. I served 2 terms as an at-large city council member. For those of you who don't know, at-large means you're elected citywide. We'll get back to that in just a minute. But most people don't know about my life before I was a council member, so I want to kind of review that with you. First of all, I was born and raised right here in Houston, Texas. I went to Westbury High School. I quit in the 11th grade, took my GED, because you know what? I knew all the answers to all the questions that hadn't even been asked yet. I joined the United States military, went to the Air Force, spent 4 years in South Dakota, and it was there that I discovered my parents may have been right about that college thing after all. So when I got out of the Air Force, I joined the Houston Police Department. I started going to college. I got an Associate of Arts degree from the Houston Community College and transferred that over and have a 4-year degree from University of Houston downtown. Turns out I'm a much better student when I'm paying for it. Worked out for me. While I was a Houston policeman, I spent 15 and a half years there, worked in patrol, worked in dispatch, worked in juvenile division, worked as a general investigator at the West Side Command Station. And in 1988, my partner and I started the first gang unit in the city of Houston's history. We did that because we recognized a problem. And we did the research necessary. We formulated the policies and the best practices and all that sort of thing. And we pitched the idea to the Houston Police Department. The command staff approved it, and we went into business in 1988. And I did that until 95, when I wrote a book called Gangsta in the House, Understanding Gang Culture. And I started educating and training people all over the United States and Canada. So I had to leave the police department to go do that job instead. So I became an internationally recognized gang and youth violence expert. I traveled all over the United States, Canada, and a number of other countries, helping people deal with their violent youth and street gangster thug issues. At some point, I decided to work smarter, not harder, so I started charging more and then working less, and that put me in front of the TV a lot. And then I started arguing with the television set about the stupid decisions the city council was making over a wide variety of issues. And my wife finally had enough, and she told me, Mike, you tell people all the time, if you don't have a good idea for a solution, you should keep your mouth shut. If you do have a good idea, you owe it to the community to get out there and do it. So you need to put up or shut up. Honestly, I'm just tired of listening to you. And so she challenged me, and of course I had to, so I ran and won twice. Now let me just tell you about running for a city office in a blue city. I ran as a outspoken conservative person 2 terms. The first term everybody thought was an accident. The second term, I had the entire Democratic Party, including the mayor of the city of Houston, working against me, trying to get me unelected because I kept asking important questions at that council table. And I defeated them. In short, I have the police experience, I have the business experience, I have the legislative experience, and I have the campaign experience to be a successful candidate in November of this year against Ed Gonzalez. Now, why should what am I going to do for the people of Harris County? Well, number one, I am going to make sure that the Harris County Commissioners Court understands their constitutional duty under the state charter is to provide for the safety of the people of Harris County. Number one. That's the number one thing that any government should do. And I will stand there and make sure they understand that. So I will fight for that. Right now we have a sheriff who, he goes and puts his budget in and they decide, well, we're not going to give you all that. We'll give you most of it, and here you go. And he says, okay, thank you, and walks off. We're going to have to fight for every dollar from if it costs Rodney Ellis one of his little pet projects that he didn't have enough money for, that's just too bad, because the safety of the people of Harris County should come first. Now, I see the problem in the Sheriff's Department as a leadership issue. We need someone with the ability to develop policies and procedures and best practices, somebody who can reinvigorate the Sheriff's Department. My goal is for the Sheriff's Department to be the premier law enforcement agency in Texas. And I want to include the DPS in that. And a lot of people have a lot of regard for the DPS. They're a fine organization. I look up to them. But I want the sheriff's department to be better. And in order to do that, we've got to involve them in education, career development. We've got to get them motivated to get out here and fight crime. We can arrest people all day long, but you know what? If we don't have judges to put them in prison, it's not doing us any good. If we have a commissioner's court that has got hug-a-thug disease and wants to create policies that allow inmates to get out of jail all the time, we can't do anything about that. But we can start, and we can start with the sheriff's department, and we can start with someone who's willing to stand up and be your voice on that commissioner's court and make sure they understand what's going on. Now, how much time do I have left?
You got about 2 minutes.
Oh, wow. You did all that in 5 minutes. So, okay. So let me just take a minute and give you some examples of why, some political experience may be important. Y'all remember Hurricane Harvey, right? Everybody remember that? I fought with the mayor. This is my favorite mayor story. I fought with the mayor because he was about to raise your tax rate, right after Hurricane Harvey, when everybody's houses was destroyed. The county had raised everybody's property values, even though it was destroyed. They just did that. So he was going to raise your property tax rate. And I caught him on that, and I had it on video, where he promised the governor of the state of Texas, if you give us $80 million to jumpstart our recovery, then I will not exercise the emergency clause on the property tax cap, and I will not raise the rate beyond that allowed by the property tax cap. He said that, he didn't do it, and then he came back, he put it on council, and I objected to it. Then he calls me in his office. There's an office in the back there. He called me in his office, and we went round and around. I said, well, look, Mayor, I'm trying to make you not a liar. I'm trying to keep you from lying to the people of Houston. You said this, you need to follow through on it. I didn't say any such thing. I said, oh yeah, you did. And I pulled out my video. I had a video of it, and I played it for him. He got so angry, he kicked himself out of his own office. We went to vote on it. I won the vote, 15-2. The mayor and the mayor pro tem voted to raise your property tax rate. Everybody else agreed with my argument, and we voted against it. 10 minutes later, he brought the issue back up because he said my amendment to his item was improperly worded. So we reworded it to his satisfaction and then voted on it again, and I beat him again, 15-2. This is what it takes. You have to hold your, if I'd have just rolled over, if I'd have said, oh, okay, Mayor, you win, y'all's property taxes would have gone up even more than they already did. And so that's what we need at the Commissioner's Court also, somebody who can hold the Commissioner's feet to the fire. I want to be your champion. I want to be your warrior. We need somebody. The purpose of this election is to elect a candidate who can win and who will carry forth the conservative principles of the Harris County Republican Party. I've served this party for almost 2 decades. I've been a 3-term precinct chair. I have served on the local governments committee. I've done all that. I've supported candidates with my time and my treasure. And so I have a commitment to the Harris County Republican Party. I'm Mike Knox. I appreciate your vote and support in the March 5th primary. Yes, you're in the back.
Yeah, are you familiar with the Constitutional Sheriff's Pledge?
I am familiar with that. I sure am, and I plan on being a constitutional sheriff.
Perfect.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know that, constitutional sheriff, the sheriff of Harris County has more power and more authority than people think. For example, I could nullify an executive order from the governor or the Lena Hidalgo or whatever. I could just not enforce it. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. And protecting people's rights under the Constitution, regardless of what the law says. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. Yes, ma'am.
And we're asking this question of all the candidates. The number one question is, how much money do you currently have in your campaign? And what interested me is, how much money did you have left over in your city council campaign, and can that be rolled over to the sheriff's campaign?
I had $1,200 left over in my city campaign, because once you're a lame duck, nobody wants to give you any money anymore. And there's a lot of money that I ended up spending for city business that couldn't be used, city money couldn't be used for. But I wrote, yes, you can roll it over, because the county has no limit.
Yeah, how much money do you currently have?
Right now I have $38,000 in my account at the moment.
And how many, what's the largest number of people that you have been supervisors or the big boss of?
21,000.
And that would be City of Houston?
City of Houston, yeah.
Okay.
I did policy for all of them, and, that's what we did.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Knox, my name is Deborah Edwards, and I have a question for you. There was a widely circulated Facebook, There was a widely circulated Facebook post here in Cy-Fair that stated that you endorsed the least electable candidate in our Cy-Fair ISD school board race instead of the veteran that ran. If that is true, what is your plan to get the Democratic, Black, independent vote in Harris County so that you might win this election?
Well, I think I might have done that when I was a city council member, and it was just, I don't know, I can't remember who I endorsed in that race. But what I plan to do is the same thing I do in the city of Houston. I've developed a relationship with Black communities all over the city, all over the county, Black churches, community activists. I spent 8 years developing those relationships, and trust me, Dave, when I tell you, they're excited about me because they don't like Ed Gonzalez and they want to get rid of him, and they want somebody they can talk to. And this is how I swing people to our side, is I tell them the truth. Unlike A Few Good Men, where whoever was in charge says, you can't handle the truth. I believe you can, and it turns out to be the truth. And so, even if I tell you something you don't want to hear, because I've told you the truth, you can make plans to deal with it otherwise. And people appreciate that. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, you name it. Everybody appreciates the truth. So I'm going to use that same tactic. Look, in my second race, in order to win in Houston and in Harris County, you need about 15 to 20% of the Black vote, you need 43% of the independent vote, and you need all of your Republican vote. That's the only way we can win in Harris County anymore. Last election, I got 23% of the Black vote, 47% of the independent vote, and most all of the Republican vote. And that's how I won 2 terms in a row. And so I plan to use that same tactic here in the county.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
You think the 2020 national election was legitimate?
Do I think the 2020 national election was illegitimate? No, of course not. I mean, holy moly.
Okay.
When's the last time you ever heard of an election count being stopped for 2 days? And then the candidate that was in the lead suddenly came out behind. I can't prove it. I'm not there. I didn't see everything, but it just defies logic that there wasn't a lot of cheating going on in that last race.
Well, 4 states violated their own laws.
Yes, there's that too.
Okay.
And I'm sure Harris County did some crazy stuff too during that election.
You have a question?
Yes, sir. Another question?
I was just going to point out, and you alluded to it a little earlier, the problem is not whether or not you arrest these criminals. The problem is you've got a local district attorney and judges to just turn them out, and you don't have enough jail space for all these brand new Americans that just got here.
Well, Doc, good to see you. I hadn't seen you in a long time. Hey,
Still got my piece, by the way.
oh, so do I. I got mine. So here's the thing. I know that politicians despise, or they really are uncomfortable with bad press. And so one of the things I can do as sheriff, and I will do as sheriff, is keep track of the types and numbers of charges that we attempt to file that are not being accepted by the DA's office, whoever the DA is. And I'll make that public, so we can all talk about what the DA is not doing. And the same goes with the judges. One of the things I want to do after I become sheriff is I want to invite the judges over to the jail for a little tour. And I'm going to show them the havoc that they have wreaked. There's people in that jail that have been waiting on misdemeanor charges for over 2 years because these judges are working 1 case a week.
That's right.
Wow.
And meanwhile, they're tying up our jail. They're filling up our jail beds. We can't, and the jail, the sheriff's department is working overtime to try to keep these people safe. And I want them to understand that it's time now for them to work a little overtime and start having court in the evening and on the weekends and start catching up on these cases. I'm not sure that that's going to be very effective until it makes the news. And trust me, it will. When we start doing these things, look, what I know about politicians, we can't stand bad press, right? So they're gonna try first to do something crazy to make me shut up, and that's not gonna work. And then they're gonna have to yield if they want to get the press off of. Anyway, that's just a thumbnail sketch of a plan that I have. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, Judy. Got like 3, sorry. How many people did you how long did you serve in HPD?
I served for 15 and a half years.
15 and a half years, okay, great. As far as how are you going to recruit additional staff?
Good question. Well, one of the things, I happened to look at the Blues magazine, which is a police magazine, the other day, and I looked in the advertisement section where they're looking for new officers to come work, and almost every single law enforcement agency in Texas is advertising for lateral entry, which means they want to take your officers from you and bring them on there. We're going to do a lot of that too, because frankly, nobody wants to be a policeman anymore. It's very difficult to find qualified people to begin their career in law enforcement, and who would want to do that with today's environment. What I plan to do is make it exciting and interesting and safe for deputies to work in the sheriff's department. And we'll be pulling some of those out from other departments that are less excited. Right now, the morale is so low that we're losing deputies right hand over fist. But once they understand that a sheriff that they're working for is going to protect them from the BLM and all the other whack jobs out there that are creating havoc for law enforcement. But what I mean by that is, if you follow the law, if you follow your policy, if you follow your training, I will be behind you, regardless of what I think about what you did. Because if you follow the law, well, you follow the law. If you followed your policy, that's something that we created. If you follow your training, we did that too. So if you make a mistake and have done all 3 of those things, I'm not going to throw you under the bus. We may change the policy. We may change the training practices. We may work on changing the law. I don't know. But the point is, I'm not going to throw a deputy of mine under the bus because they did those 3 things. And I think that's going to lift morale quite a bit. It's rare. Look, I was a policeman, and I know how rare it is for police chiefs and sheriffs to, feel motivated to throw somebody under the bus just to quit that bad press. Y'all are going to pay me the big bucks to take those slings and arrows, and I will do it. And we're going to have a department that's going to be increasingly professional, increasingly educated, and increasingly superior to all the other law enforcement agencies in the surrounding area. On a side note, I do want to bring the constables along with me on that journey. So we'll be working closely with the constables on that as well. You had one more question.
Last one is in regards to what I asked before to some of the other candidates. Human trafficking we are the center of it. So what are you going to do to help try to either increase our unit that we have, take it away from some of the other units to impact?
Well, one of the first things I'll be doing in the first 30 days or 60 days or 90 days is reviewing the staffing of the entire sheriff's department. I know for a fact that there are way overstaffed in certain departments that are what we call RODs, retired on duty positions. We need to move those around and get them into, going back to work. So we'll be reorganizing that. We'll be using the resources that we currently have in a much more efficient manner. We'll be adding people to those. We need to start rating some of these massage parlors and that kind of thing. We just need to start putting the pressure on. So of course, human trafficking has been part of the Houston problem, the Harris County problem for 30, 40 years now. It's not going to be cured overnight, but we can certainly apply more energy, effort, and manpower to that issue because it is important, and we need to be doing that. Right now, I think there's 6 or 8 people assigned to investigate that. That's completely nonsensical. We need way more than that. Yes, sir. You had a question in the back?
No, sir, I said there's 2 people.
Oh, there's 2 people. Okay, I thought that was sexual assaults. It was our sexual assault squad that just had 2.
I have a question, this lady.
Yes, ma'am.
I turned it off.
Do you have any endorsements from any Houston Police Department officers or anyone in the Harris County Sheriff's Department?
I have so many that I have to have a cell phone to have them listed here. Hang on a second. Yes, the Houston Police Officers Union PAC has endorsed me. I have endorsements from the Kingwood Tea Party, Texas Right to Life, Texas Liberty Alliance, Texas Values, HRBC, which is a business group here in town, of course, the Houston Police, the CCHC, that's the Conservative Council of Harris County, Congressman Wesley Hunt, Dan Crenshaw, Ted Poe, Joan Huffman, Valerie Swanson, Charles Cunningham, and on and on and on. I've got a whole list of them here. So yes, I'm well supported and endorsed.
Thank you. What I was trying to get at mainly was, with the Harris County Sheriff's Department, is this someone where they would be, the people who are already there would be so happy for you to be there? Or are they wanting someone else? I mean, do the people who are currently working in the Harris County Sheriff's Department, are they endorsing you?
They probably won't, and there's a political reason for that. The Sheriff's Union has a incumbent-friendly policy. I don't know if you're familiar with what that means, but they try not to go against the incumbent in case the incumbent wins. You know, so that it's not likely that any Republican is going to get the Sheriff's Union endorsement because they have a friendly incumbent policy. Will they be happy that somebody else is sheriff? Absolutely. You know, so.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Well, thank you. Let's give Mr. Martin.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And remember, Knox, County Sheriff. I am the first name you'll see on the ballot, so once you get to mine, you can just move on. Thank you very much.